I'm a farmer. I live in the village. Without farming, I can't feed my family.
Gbagnon Jean-Pierre Lodugnon has been working on the land for more than 20 years.
My father is a farmer. When he went to the fields, I followed him. He raised us in the fields. There were 3 of us, 2 boys and a girl.
Jean-Pierre is 70. He grows cocoa and rubber trees on his farm. Jean-Pierre has 5 hectares of fields in Polybrousse, a village in the Sassandra department of southeastern Côte d'Ivoire. But he's had to make difficult choices throughout his farming life. First, to make an income, and now about the future of those 5 hectares. Welcome to Nature Answers, rural stories from a changing planet. We explore stories of how communities in rural sub-Saharan Africa are working with nature to adapt to the climate crisis. I'm your host, Ivy Prosper. Today we're visiting Côte d'Ivoire to explore 2 different approaches to planting trees and to meet the people who are making the choices to make space in their fields for those trees. The path through Jean-Pierre's fields is covered with dead leaves that crunch under your feet. Hundreds of rubber trees spread everywhere. The trunk of each tree is marked with a precise cut. A milky liquid flows from this cut into a bowl attached to the tree trunk. It's similar to the way maple syrup is made. Small holes are drilled in a maple tree to access the sap. But the liquid that flows from these trees becomes rubber. In 2020, Côte d'Ivoire was Africa's leading producer of rubber and the 4th largest producer of the product in the world. In 2023, the country produced 1,678,000 tons of dry rubber. It is also the world's leading cocoa producer. Cocoa and rubber crops used to be enough to live on, but climate change and infertile land are making it more difficult to grow crops. Once Polybrousse was surrounded by dense forest. Today, the trees are gone. The forests are felled to make a way for cocoa plantations. At first, these cocoa plantations brought prosperity to planters like Jean-Pierre. Now they are paying the price for the loss of the forests.
We used to make a lot of money, but with the sun, it's not working anymore. On my 5 hectares, I picked 200 kilos each harvest. I used to do more than that. I used to harvest a full ton. Now I can't do that a ton. The ground has become hard. It's very hot, so the forests are dying.
The farmers had cleared the land to plant cocoa, but they soon learned that the young cocoa plants grow best in the shade. They needed established trees to grow. Aicha Fofana, another cocoa grower, has also been affected by deforestation.
There is no production. When it doesn't rain, you can't produce anything. You can't get the money. It is when there is cocoa that there is money.
Faced with the same problem, Jean-Pierre soon turned to palm production instead. Palm trees are used to create palm oil, a popular cooking product.
As I did a bit of palm growing, I had a nursery. I did that in 2012. We are going to sell this to the factory. We will send them to the factory in bunches. With palm tree production, at least I get by. It's not much, but I earn enough to take care of my family.
Rubber, palm, and cocoa are all important economic drivers in rural Côte d'Ivoire. And they are plants and trees in their own right. They contribute to deforestation. Farmers often clear natural forests to plant these trees, but the loss of forests have also had economic consequences. The lack of tree cover has caused the land to dry up, and as local farmers watched their fields produce less and less, the government reacted. In 2020, it launched a reforestation project. The National Cocoa Coffee Council signed a partnership with the National Agency for Rural Development, known as ANADER, to distribute trees to cocoa planters.
Actuellement, en Côte d'Ivoire, ce qui a été décidé à notre niveau, c'est que nous appliquons.
Currently in Côte d'Ivoire, we decided to apply the new standard called ARS 1000, which consists of planting 30 trees per hectare in Côte d'Ivoire in cocoa fields. Now, for those who don't have cocoa fields and simply want to plant forests, we are giving them 1,100 trees per hectare. That's it. To benefit from these trees, we invite growers who have cocoa plots to come and register with our structure. And then, in collaboration with the Conseil Café Cacao, we supply them with 30 trees per hectare.
That's Yakeo Mamba. He's an agricultural engineer who specializes in perennial crops at ANADER. The practice of planting trees in and among cocoa groves, or any farm really, is called agroforestry. It consists of putting several species of trees and sometimes animals in the same field that is used for crops. Agroforestry is a nature-based solution, and it has benefits not only for the environment but also for agriculture and production.
Avec la politique de reforestation,
with the policy of reforestation through cocoa farming, we think that in the years to come, when the trees grow, production will be multiplied. But what's interesting is that it's going to attract rain, and it's also going to allow our soils to rehabilitate, to be well fertilized, thanks to the trees.
It's a practice that is sorely needed. In 1990, Côte d'Ivoire had 7.9 million hectares of forest. Between 1990 and 2020, the country lost around 5 million of those hectares. That makes Côte d'Ivoire one of the African countries with the highest annual deforestation rate. So how is ANADER actually making a difference? Well, first, they visit producers to talk to them about agroforestry.
Nous faisons d'abord la sensibilisation.
We start by raising awareness. We talk to producers about agroforestry. Now we are inviting them to sign up to benefit from the trees. And once they receive the trees, we will follow them through implementation. And once the trees are in place, we monitor their progress alongside the producers.
When ANADER representatives came to Polybruce to talk with the planters, Jean-Pierre hesitated.
Rubber used to give me money.
It's not an uncommon sentiment when people are asked to change their ways. After all, people tend to have reasons for what they're doing. So ANADER organized workshops to educate the farmers on the benefits of planting trees. Here's how Aicha says the discussions went.
We were told that planting the trees would help us a lot, as the weather was very hot, which was tiring for the plant. So by planting the trees, the climate would change. It was going to mean that we would at least get rain so that the trees could grow again, that the cocoa would produce well again.
It sounded good to Aicha. Jean-Pierre, who also took part in the workshops, knew he had to make a decision. But in order to plant forest trees, Jean-Pierre would have to remove a hectare of rubber from his field. On one hand, this meant a loss of income for him, 1 hectare of rubber can yield 1.5 to 2.5 tons in a good year. At a price of 300 francs per kilogram, someone like Jean-Pierre could earn between 450,000 to 750,000 francs per month. While Jean-Pierre's field is old and he's losing money, as the yield decreases, it's still a significant source of income for him. On the other hand, he thought it could mean long-term relief, not only for himself, but for his community. So he decided. Jean-Pierre accepted Anader's offer. In 2020, he began reforesting his field. He used a hectare of land to create a new forest. That's reforestation. And he planted additional trees on a hectare of land and also among the cocoa trees. That's agroforestry.
I did it for the village, for Côte d'Ivoire. If it rains, it will rain everywhere, not just at home.
Just 5 kilometers from Polybrousse, there's a village that's also trying to repair the damage caused by deforestation. Lamini Zoungrana has lived at Campement Jean since 1997. He moved here from Edon, a village in Sassandra, but the drought hasn't been easy for Lamini. He's a family man who depends on agriculture.
When we had started out, the yield was good and we were able to spend our money. But after a few years, we saw that we were losing our plants. The cocoa was dying. Well, if your yield is down, your problems are up. Anyway, it was a bit tough.
As in Polybrousse, Anader is educating the planters of Campement Jean about the benefits of agroforestry.
As we had destroyed the forest, we saw that the soil itself had become impoverished. So now if we manage to plant, we know it will enrich the soil. And then at the level of the cocoa plants, it's going to prevent a lot of the diseases that have started to attack our cocoa plants. Every year, if you haven't gotten rid of the Laurentacea, you risk losing your field.
Laurentacea is a parasitic plant that grows on cocoa. With his field failing and a family relying on him, Lamini made a decision.
I took part because I saw that I was losing the roots of my cocoa trees. And now, when we've been given advice and followed training courses, we've seen the example. We've seen that the cocoa is starting to catch up with what's gone before. So that gave us the courage.
Lamini has already planted 150 trees in his cocoa field and is starting to see results. Even other farmers who were initially wary have changed their minds.
In the beginning, they didn't really try things out. So if the growers don't have all the pure information, it's a bit hard to accept. Because others said, no, it's a trick. They want to take our plantations. So others didn't agree to what we were doing. But eventually they saw that it's not the case. So they started to participate.
At Polybrousse, Jean-Pierre also encountered difficulties when he started planting trees.
At first, people laughed. They would say, people are trying to plant trees, cocoa, rubber trees, and you are doing the opposite, taking out the rubber trees and put it in the forest. Some of them are even looking to plant now. They are looking to plant now.
Despite the loss of income and criticism from other growers, Jean-Pierre says he made the right decision.
Another asked us to plant trees in the cocoa. So I put trees in the cocoa. This means that the soil isn't like it used to be. When it's hot, the cocoa is a bit protected. Today, it's fine.
It's a change that Aicha has also noticed.
The appearance of the soil has changed. When it rains, the trees and the leaves get water, so it falls on the ground. So, there are more cracks than before. In any case, my harvest has changed. Before, it wasn't so good, but now it is fine.
The sacrifices people like Aicha and Jean-Pierre and Lamini have made are not insignificant, but they consider it an investment in the future.
Tomorrow, if I am not here, how would my children eat? I have to maintain this field so that tomorrow it will be a legacy for my children.
Nature Answers is produced by Farm Radio International. You can learn more about nature-based solutions and the people implementing them by following Nature Answers wherever you get your podcasts. You can follow us on social media at Farm Radio. We'll be back next week with our finale. It's a 3-part story coming to us from Zambia about how these solutions are helping with research, with communities, and even to people recovering from addiction. Until then, find pictures of the people you heard from today on our website at farmradio.org/Nature Answers. You will also find transcripts and more about nature-based solutions there. Until then, share Nature Answers with your friends and family, or send us an email at natureanswers@farmradio.org. I'm your host, Ivy Prosper, coming to you from Accra, Ghana.
This episode was reported and produced in Côte d'Ivoire by me, Dominique Genet, with support from André Assis in Farm Radio's International Office in Abidjan, Côte d'Ivoire, Nina Kofi, journalist and radio host at Radio Asadi in Sassandra, Côte d'Ivoire, and fellow reporter Jack Wilson. Jack and I were part of an internship program with Côte University School of Journalism. You can find me on X at Dominique_Genet. That's DOMINIQUE_GENE. The podcast was edited by Taras Brookeroff. Farm Radio compensated community members who participated in interviews. It is common practice to compensate a person in this region for the time they spent being interviewed. Our podcast would exclude many important perspectives if we only interviewed those who could afford to step away from their economic activities without compensation. Nature Answers was produced by Farm Radio International thanks to funding from the Government of Canada.